What's up, guys? Welcome to my channel and podcast, Whispers of the Unseen, where we discuss all things true crime, supernatural, mysterious, paranormal, all the things. I'm Jennifer, and today we are going to be talking about a case that it's going to leave you confused. You may lean one way or another. For me, it's difficult to say what I think happened. I'm going to give you my opinion at the end, but I want to know what your thoughts are. So be sure and let me know in the comments because I'm very curious to hear theories and what you guys think happened. In the heart of Valdosta, Georgia, the mysterious and unsettling case of Kendrick Johnson unfolded, leaving a community and a family in shock, grappling with an unimaginable loss. Kendrick, a 17-year-old sophomore, known for his athleticism and lighthearted demeanor, embarked on what seemed like a routine day at school. A series of events unfolded that would raise more questions than answers. What started as a missing person report took a dark turn when Kendrick's lifeless body was discovered in the most unexpected place, which was the school gym. And as his family sought answers, discrepancies in the case from a controversial cause of death to tampered surveillance footage fueled suspicions that Kendrick's demise was far from just a tragic accident. This is the perplexing tale of Kendrick Johnson, a story shrouded in mystery, unanswered questions, and a quest for justice. Let's get into the case. Kendrick Johnson was a 5'10", 17-year-old from Valdosta, Georgia. He was a sophomore in high school. His family, who was extremely tight-knit, would later describe him as an athlete, fun, and a jokester. January 10th, 2013 started out like any other day for Kendrick. He got up that morning and got ready for school, hopped on the bus, and off he went. That afternoon, when the bus pulled back up, Kendrick did not get off the bus. This, for good reason, concerned his mom, so she went out there to talk to the bus driver. The bus driver told her that Kendrick didn't get on the bus that afternoon. Kendrick's mom, Jackie, then called his sister, thinking maybe she picked him up and he was hanging out with her. He wasn't. She also called his brother to see if he was with him. He wasn't. She also called his father to see when he last heard from Kendrick, and he hadn't spoke to him at all that day. The last time they talked was the day before. The family began calling around to family and friends to see if anyone had seen Kendrick, but no one had. After calling everyone that they could think of, and it being already after midnight, Jackie decided to go ahead and call the police. The police seemed to try and calm the situation by suggesting that Kendrick had maybe run off with a girl and that he would eventually come home. Jackie let the officer know that this was not like Kendrick at all, and something was definitely wrong. Jackie would later say that she knew that night Kendrick was no longer with them. She just had this feeling. At the same time, his father, who was a truck driver and was currently out on the road, also had this feeling, and it was so bad that he actually had to pull the truck over to the side of the road and lay down in the back of it. He knew his son was gone. The next morning, Jackie and Kendrick's sister went straight up to the high school to see if they could talk with anyone who may have seen something. They wanted answers, and they were there to get them. While they were at the high school around 10:30 a.m., there suddenly began a lot of commotion at the gym. They soon caught wind that a student's body had been found in the gym of the school. This is when his mother lost it. She hit her knees and began to cry. The school resource officer comes over to her and asks her what's wrong. She said that she knew it was her son's body. The resource officer told her she didn't know that for sure, and Jackie went on to say, "Well, are there any other students missing?" Eventually, it would be said that a group of students in the gym saw socks sticking up out of these rolled-up wrestling mats, and a lot of students apparently didn't have lockers, and they would use these rolled-up wrestling mats to store their stuff like shoes. They were rolled up and propped up, making them about 6 feet tall. They thought the socks were possibly there just as a joke, so they turned the mat over and started to smell vomit, blood, and a decomposing body. That's when they realized that this was real and was not some kind of a joke. But no one would tell Jackie anything, so all she could do was wait. Eventually, the resource officer came out with a photo of a shoe, asking if this shoe belonged to Kendrick. She said yes. She began to ask the resource officer for more of a description of the body, like if it had dreads. The officer said it did. She knew that this was her son. Kendrick's mother and sister would later say that things at the school continued on as usual. Lunch breaks, switching classes, everything. Except, obviously, they were trying to keep people out of the gym. But unfortunately, the body wasn't found until 10:30 in the morning. So there had already been over a couple of hours where people were walking around the gym, all over what would be declared a crime scene. Later, police would come out and let Kendrick's mom, Jackie, know that they did not suspect foul play, that it appeared to be an accident. And she didn't believe this for 1 second. She knew that there was something wrong. The fact the police had only been there for a few hours, they had hardly spent any time investigating. So how could they say it was an accident? The medical examiners eventually came and retrieved the body. And at this point, the family still had not even been allowed to see the body. The police were pretty quick to be dismissive of the whole thing, and it was just a freak accident. The family obviously found this very suspicious, so to try and get some answers, the family and people in the community got together. They went down to the courthouse and had a rally demanding answers, or to at least get to see his body. After being at the rally for about an hour and a half, Kendrick's family gets a phone call from the coroner, asking if they wanted to come see Kendrick's body. Of course they said yes. So they go to the coroner's office, and when they open up the body bag, they are shocked by what they see. Kendrick did not look at all like the Kendrick that they knew. He looked as if he had been beat up. And due to him having been upside down for a long period of time, all of the blood had rushed to his head. His face and lips were extremely swollen, and there are photos of him, but I'm not going to show them here, but they are easy to find. There's actually a photo of him too after the autopsy that looks much worse. They're both bad, but the one after the autopsy definitely looks worse, and a lot of people get them confused, so be sure you know which one you're looking at if you're going to go look. According to the medical examiner that was provided by the state, they said he died from positional asphyxia, which is suffocating from the position that you're in. It happens by being upside down and all of the blood rushing to the head of the body. It then causes organs to begin shutting down and the lungs to fill with blood, and this causes you to suffocate. The family was still extremely skeptical of this and were also very suspicious when the police gave them their theory of what they believe happened. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of students use these rolled up mats kind of like lockers to store their stuff, and the police tried to say that Kendrick threw his shoes down into the rolled up mat and went to get them. Instead of just turning the mat on its side like everyone else does, he crawled up the mat and crawled down into the mat and got stuck. His best friend said that once he heard it was an accident and that he climbed down into the mat, he knew for sure that it wasn't true. Another thing that happened that was extremely confusing was they measured the hole in the mat where Kendrick was found. The hole in the mat was 14 inches wide. This made absolutely no sense because Kendrick's shoulders were 19 inches wide. So this makes it extremely hard to believe that he crawled down into the mat. When his body was found upside down in the mat, it said that he had one hand above his head and he had thrown up and he was bleeding. There were also shoes at the bottom of the mat under his head. He had no shoes on his feet. Then at the top of the mat where Kendrick's feet were, someone had tossed in a pair of shoes in after him. They thought it was strange because the shoes that were by his head didn't have vomit or blood on them. So how is this even possible? Something else that was odd, yes, something else that was odd. There are so many odd things in this case. The medical examiner, who normally immediately gets called when a body is found, was not called for 5 hours after the discovery of Kendrick's body. Why? What were they doing for these 5 hours? When the medical examiner did arrive, they were able to tell that the body had been moved. Remember the students who thought it was a joke? They moved the mat with the body in it. They also found blood on the gym walls. There was also a hoodie and a random shoe that also had blood on it. But guess what? These were not taken into evidence. Later, they claimed that the blood on the wall was later tested, but that it was not Kendrick's blood, so it wasn't related. To me, this is nuts because this could have been the killer's blood. Kendrick's parents decided to hire their own medical examiner. They dug his body up, and the medical examiner hired by Kendrick's parents did their own autopsy. When the examiner began the autopsy, the first thing they noticed was that he was missing all of his organs, and in their place were wads of newspaper. For good reason, the parents were very upset by this, so they contacted the original medical examiner to ask what had happened. They claimed to have no idea what had happened. They said they put all of his organs back and sent him to the funeral home. So they went to the funeral home for answers. They said they had nothing to do with it either. So how strange is that? Why is no one admitting to doing this? Who did it? Anyway, because of this, the medical examiner hired by the parents was not able to do a complete autopsy. He couldn't observe the organs, but he did go back and look at the original autopsy and looked at the weight of Kendrick's lungs. They were a normal weight. Because of this, the medical examiner stated that there was no way that he could have died the way the first medical examiner said, because if he had, his lungs would have been a lot heavier and full of blood. If they weren't filled with blood, this means he was already dead when he was placed into the mat. The medical examiner also discovered that Kendrick had blunt force trauma to his head, neck, and chest. It also turns out that in the gym, there are 4 motion sensor cameras. Altogether, the cameras covered the entire gym. But wouldn't you know it, all 4 cameras had blank spots in the time that it's believed that the incident took place. The cameras did show Kendrick walking into the gym, but it shows nothing of what Kendrick did in the gym. Also, 2 cameras did not record at 11:05, and 2 did not record at 12:04 for a couple of hours. There were also cameras in the hallway that showed the entryway to the gym. The hallway cameras showed 7 different guys walking into the gym in that time frame. So why did the cameras in the gym not pick up on them? This suggests that the cameras had been tampered with. This then leads to the question, well, who would have done that? Who would have enough issues with Kendrick to kill him? Whether it was on purpose or an accident. Well, there's a rumor that there is a boy named Brian, and he got into a fight with him on the bus. Kendrick's friend said that him and Kendrick were sitting at the back of the bus when Brian came up, kind of just picking on Kendrick, bullying basically, but trying to do it in a funny way. And Kendrick didn't like this at all, so he stood up and they started to fight. It said that Kendrick won the fight. Well, this kid Brian, who also has a brother who goes to the same school, his name is Brandon, their dad is a high-profile FBI agent. Yes, high-profile FBI agent. Kendrick's father would later say that after the fight, Kendrick told him that he was at school and Brian's dad came up to him and said, "Hey, the fight you had with my son wasn't a fair fight. Why don't you come to my house and fight him there?" And his dad asked, what did he say? And he said he just kind of looked at him like he was crazy and walked away. This FBI agent denies that this incident ever even happened. Brian claimed that he was friends with Kendrick, but Kendrick's parents say that this is not the case. The 2 brothers refused to help with the investigation, but a lot of people think it could be because their dad is an FBI agent and he knows they shouldn't get involved in this. But who knows? But this just makes them look more suspicious. Brandon actually got a scholarship to be on the Florida State University football team as a linebacker, but a year after all of this happened, his scholarship was revoked because of all the stuff that was going on with Kendrick Johnson. They were concerned about facing scrutiny for awarding a scholarship to someone who might be possibly involved in a potential murder. It's difficult because these kids may not even have been involved at all with Kendrick's death, and their lives have been affected as if they were both guilty. Both brothers and the father all took a lie detector test, and all 3 passed. But some people think this is because their father was an FBI agent, he knew how to pass the lie detector test, and that he told his sons how to do it as well. My personal opinion, I'm on the fence. I'm not sure what to think. I do think the whole circumstances surrounding the death are suspicious. I find it hard to believe that he would crawl into the mat, and especially too, because remember, technically his shoulders wouldn't even have fit in the mat. And the fact that the second medical examiner found evidence of blunt force trauma suggests that he was in a fight. I've watched interviews with the two brothers who have been rumored to have committed this murder, and honestly, they don't really give me the vibes like they're lying. However, they totally could be. This is just my opinion. I do think it's extremely suspicious, though, that the cameras weren't working right when they needed to be. It definitely seems like they were tampered with, and the fact that their dad was an FBI agent, I feel like he would know how to get rid of this evidence. So, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on the case in the comments below. I am extremely curious to see what you guys think. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already done so. This way you don't miss out on more videos like this one. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys next time.